Mira Dallin sat alone in the control room of Nexus Array 7, a quiet space station floating far beyond Neptune. The lights above her blinked softly. Screens surrounded her, showing endless numbers, waves, and dots. It was cold and silent, but she liked it that way. Mira was a signal technician. Her job was simple: listen for anything strange in space. Most of the time, it was just noise. Space was big and empty. Sometimes she would hear the hiss of a dying star or the soft buzz from space dust hitting the station's sensors. But nothing ever felt alive. Until today. At 3:12 station time, Mira saw a line shift on one of her screens, just a small bump. She leaned closer. The signal had a strange rhythm, slow, soft, steady, almost like breathing. She played it through the speakers. A low hum came out, rising and falling, like someone breathing in and out in a calm sleep. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard. She ran a quick scan, no known pattern. Not from any ship, satellite, or planet. She frowned. Strange. Whispered. She checked the source. The signal came from somewhere beyond the Kuiper Belt, farther than any human probe had gone. Her partner, a quiet engineer named Tareen, walked into the room, carrying a hot drink. "Still awake?" he asked. "Listen to this," Mira said, turning up the volume. He tilted his head. "Sounds like static." "No, listen carefully." He closed his eyes. The hum rose and fell. Again and again. Tareen's eyes opened slowly. "That's weird. Almost sounds like breathing." Mira nodded. "Exactly. It started just 10 minutes ago." Tareen placed his drink down. "Could be a glitch. I checked. The system's fine." "Then it's probably a natural signal." "Maybe, but it doesn't feel random. It feels like something's trying to speak." Tareen smiled, but it was a nervous smile. "You always say that when you find a new signal. This time it's different." She saved the data and sent it to Earth's main science hub. They wouldn't reply soon. It took over 6 hours for a message to travel from Earth to this far outpost. But Mira didn't wait. She stayed at her post, listening. That night, she didn't sleep. At 5 o'clock, the signal changed. It became louder, deeper. Mira stared at the screen. The rhythm was the same, but now it was reacting. Every time she spoke, the wave shifted. She leaned toward the microphone. "Hello." The signal dipped, then rose again. She whispered, "Can you hear me?" Another dip. Mira sat back, eyes wide. "Tareen." He rushed in. "What happened?" It responded to my voice. They tested it again. Every time Mira spoke, the signal moved. But when Tareen tried, nothing happened. "It's reacting to me," she said softly. They ran more tests. Every result was the same. The signal reacted only to Mira's voice. Not to machines. Not to other people. "Maybe your voice has a tone it likes." Tareen joked, but his eyes were serious. Mira began recording her voice logs, talking directly into the signal feed. "I don't know who you are," she said, "or what you are, but I can hear you." The signal pulsed gently, like a calm breath. That night, Mira had a dream. She was standing in a black space. No stars, no light, just endless dark. Behind her, she heard breathing, slow, deep, real. She turned around, but no one was there. Still, the breath continued, like someone was just behind her, waiting, watching. She woke up with her heart racing. The next day, the signal grew stronger. Mira could feel it now, like a low hum in her chest. She recorded again. "I can feel you. Now I don't know how, but I do." Suddenly, a new sound played through the speakers, a soft whisper. Not a word, just a sound. Like someone exhaling right next to her ear. Tareen stepped back. "Did you hear that?" Mira nodded slowly. "His breath touched me, before his fingers did." Tareen looked confused. "Whose?" "I don't know," she whispered. Over the next few hours, Other technicians on Earth began to notice the signal too, but no one could explain it. No ship was near. No planet or star could create such a pattern. More importantly, it only reacted to Myra. Her voice logs now felt like conversations. The signal responded with pulses, whispers, and strange waves. Myra started calling the source he, not because she knew its form, but because it felt personal. She no longer felt alone on Nexus Array 7. At 22 o'clock, a new message arrived from Earth. Prepare for direct contact. An object is approaching the outer edge of the system. Myra read the words twice. An object? Coming here? She looked at the signal screen again. The rhythm was still there, calm, slow, like someone breathing in the dark. Myra whispered, "You're coming, aren't you?" The screen pulsed once. A perfect response. The message from Earth repeated in Myra's mind. Prepare for direct contact. An object is approaching the outer edge of the system. She read it again, even though she already knew the words by heart. An object, not a comet, not a probe, just an object. The room felt colder now. Taren sat beside her, silent. His eyes were fixed on the data screen that showed the object's path. It was moving fast, too fast for any natural thing, yet too smooth for human technology. It was heading straight toward Saturn's orbit. How big is it? Myra asked. Taren clicked through a few reports. About 3 kilometers long. No signs of heat. No engines. It's just gliding. Myra leaned closer. Does it match anything in our database? He shook his head. It's not like anything we've seen before. And yet, something inside Myra already knew the answer. Back in the con room, the breathing signal was still strong. Now it felt louder, deeper. It wasn't just sound anymore. Myra could feel it, like soft air against her skin, even though the room was sealed. The scientists on Earth didn't understand. They ran scans, sent drones, checked for radiation. Nothing dangerous, no weapons, no heat. Still, they were cautious, but Myra wasn't afraid. I think it's him, she said. Taren turned to her. The one from the signal? She nodded slowly. He's coming. 12 hours later, the object reached Saturn's orbit. Earth sent a high-speed probe to circle around it. The probe had cameras, sensors, and defense systems in case of a threat. It took only minutes for it to reach the object and begin sending images back. Myra watched the live feed with her heart pounding. The object was not a ship, not exactly. It was smooth, silver, and shaped like a long spiral. It had no lights, no windows. Its surface moved gently, like it was breathing. Or alive. The scientists were stunned. It's not metal, one of them said over the call. It's something else, something soft, like muscle or memory. Then, the screen went black. The probe was gone. All systems crashed at the same time. No sound, no warning. It was like the probe had vanished into thin air. Taren cursed under his breath. It just disappeared. Myra's eyes didn't leave the dark screen. He didn't destroy it, she said. He just stopped it. Suddenly, the lights in Nexus Array 7 flickered. Alarms rang for a second, then stopped. Every machine powered down. Except one, the signal monitor. It pulsed softly, rhythmically, like a heartbeat. Myra stepped closer. A whisper came through the speaker. It was longer this time, almost like a word, but not one she could understand. It echoed around the room like a breath blown gently against her ear. Taren stepped back. Why is that the only thing working? Myra answered without thinking. Because it doesn't need power. He's not speaking with machines, he's speaking with me. Hours passed. Earth lost connection with every probe near the object. Satellites were still blind. But the signal in Myra's station continued to grow stronger. Myra began to dream. Again. This time, the dream was clearer. She stood in a glowing corridor with no end, floating just above the floor. Around her, walls pulsed like veins, soft and warm. She could feel breath in the air, not cold or hot, but real. She turned. This time, she saw something, a shadow, tall, long arms, no eyes. But it did not feel threatening. It felt lonely. It reached out a hand but didn't touch her. Its fingers hovered just above her skin. Then she woke up. Earth sent a final message. We are sending a shuttle. Prepare for pickup. Mira Dallin is requested to board. Taran looked at her. You're going down there. She nodded. They think I'm the key. I think they're right. She packed her things quietly. Before leaving the station, she stood in front of the signal one last time. She spoke softly. I'm coming. The signal pulsed again once, strong and slow. The shuttle took Mira to Earth's upper orbit, to a secret facility called the Solar Diplomatic Corps. It was a place built for moments like this, though no one ever thought it would be used. Mira stepped into the main chamber. Around her stood a dozen scientists, military officers, and one calm woman in a white coat. I'm Dr. Emma, she said. We've reviewed all your reports. We believe the object is responding to you. Mira nodded. It is. Dr. Emma walked her through the plan. They had built a contact room, a safe, sealed space with walls made of special mirror alloy. Mira would enter alone. If the entity wanted to speak, it would do it there. No machines. No weapons. Just Mira. She agreed. Inside the room, it was silent. The air was thick, like before a storm. Mira sat in the middle and closed her eyes. And then she heard it. The breath, louder now, close. She opened her eyes. The walls around her rippled like water. Then, something appeared, shapes in the glass, almost like memories. She saw stars, planets, beings with long limbs and soft glowing skin. They were not human, but they felt familiar. One reached out. A hand. And stopped, just like in her dream. Mira stepped forward and placed her hand on the mirror. The breath deepened. And then, for the first time, she heard something clear. A voice, not a word, but a feeling, a thought. You remembered me. Mira stood still. Her heart beat hard in her chest. Who are you? She asked. The mirror shimmered again. More images came, stars exploding, planets forming, a long journey through silence. I waited. Mira's hand stayed on the glass. What are you waiting? Awful silence. Then one final whisper came, soft and low. To finish the touch. The room was quiet after the whisper. To finish the touch. Mira stood alone, her hand still resting on the mirror wall. The surface no longer rippled. It was still and cold again, like nothing had happened. But something had happened. She had heard. A voice, not through her ears, but inside her mind. Not as words, but as feelings and memory. It was clear, soft, and deeply sad. Mira stepped back slowly, her hand falling to her side. Her heart was still beating fast, but she wasn't afraid. The door opened behind her with a soft hiss. Dr. Emma stood there with a few others, watching closely. You heard something, the doctor said. Mira nodded. He spoke. Not in words, but I understood. Dr. Emma led her to a small observation room. Screens showed the mirror walls and the data collected during Mira's time inside. One of the scientists, a tall man named Harn, tapped on a graph showing wave signals. When Mira touched the wall, he said, the energy around the object changed. It matched her heart rate. Dr. Emma turned to Mira. He's trying to bond with you. Mira looked down. He said he waited. For a long time. He's not a machine. He's alive. A living ship? Someone asked. No, Mira said. He's more than that. He remembers. He feels. He wants something. Over the next few days, Mira stayed inside the contact center. They gave her a room with a bed, food, and access to the signal chamber. Every day, she entered the contact room and spoke to the walls. The breathing sound returned each time she stepped inside. On the fourth day, something new happened. When she touched the wall, the mirror changed again, but this time it showed her. Not a perfect reflection. It was her, but different. She looked taller with glowing lines along her arms. Her eyes were bright with white light, and her skin seemed to shine softly like moonlight. It felt strange, but not scary. The image reached out a hand toward her, just like before. Mira stepped closer. "I see you," she whispered. The voice returned, just a whisper of a feeling. "You are not the first." "What do you mean?" Mira asked. The wall changed again. This time it showed a group of tall, thin beings with soft, glowing skin similar to the reflection. They stood around something bright, like a light in the shape of a heart. "They were like you," the voice said. Mira watched in silence. The glowing beings reached out, but then turned away. The light faded. The memory stopped. "They left?" she asked. The voice paused before replying. "They feared the touch." Back in the observation room, Mira shared what she saw. "They knew him before," she told the others. "Another species." "They came close, but they pulled away." Dr. Emma nodded slowly. "That means he's been in this galaxy a long time, maybe longer than us. He's not here to harm us," Mira said. "He's just unfinished. Like he never completed something important." Dr. Emma leaned forward. "Do you feel safe with him?" Mira didn't answer right away. Then she said softly, "Yes. When I hear the breathing, I don't feel fear. I feel calm, like someone is waiting for me to understand." That night, Mira had another dream. She stood inside the spiral object Kaon. She now called him. The name had come to her without reason, as if it had always been there. Inside Kaon, everything pulsed softly. She walked slowly down a long hallway made of light and memory. Shadows moved beside her, whispering in a voice like wind. At the end of the path, she saw a chamber. In the center floated a sphere of light. When she reached for it, she felt heat, not burning, but warm, like a memory of someone you missed. For years. Then she heard it again. "You remembered me." She woke up with tears in her eyes. The next day, Earth's top scientists held a meeting. Some wanted to study Kaon further. Others believed he was too strange, too unknown. A few even feared he could be a threat. Mira sat quietly until they asked her to speak. She stood and faced the room. "Kaon is not a weapon," she said. "He's not a tool. He's alive. He's been alone for so long that he forgot why he began this journey. I think he's here to finish something that started long ago." "What does he want?" one man asked. "He wants to finish a moment." "That never happened," Mira replied. "A moment of connection." Someone scoffed. "You mean a handshake?" Myra didn't smile. "Something like that, but deeper. He doesn't touch with hands. He touches through memory, through breath, through feeling." The room fell silent. Dr. Emma finally said, "Then what do we do?" Mira looked toward the screen, which showed Kaon floating quietly beyond Saturn. "I go back in." The contact room was darker this time. The breathing sound was slow, heavy, like someone waiting at the end of a long road. Mira stepped forward and placed both hands on the mirror wall. This time, the mirror did not show her. It showed Kaon's memory. She saw stars dying one after another, as if someone had erased whole skies. She saw broken ships, silent and frozen. She saw a giant black shadow, shaped like a claw, moving through space like a ghost. Mira stepped back. "What is that?" Kaon answered with a feeling. Mix of sorrow and warning, the one who ends memory. Mira's hands shook. "It's coming?" No reply came. But the room felt colder. Kaon's breath slowed. Then she heard one last whisper. "I must not forget again. You are the last." The lights in the room pulsed once, then faded. Mira stood alone in the dark, her hands still pressed against the mirror. Outside, in the quiet sky above Saturn, Kaon turned slightly, as if he was watching her. Mira sat in her room, still thinking about what Kaon had shown her. The one who ends memory. That shadow. The huge dark shape moving through space. It didn't look like a ship. It looked like something ancient and empty. Something that didn't breathe. Something that forgot and wanted others to forget too. The image stayed in her mind like a bruise. She stood up, walked to the small window, and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, Kaon floated silently near Saturn. And somewhere even farther, that other thing, the shadow, was coming. The next morning, Dr. Emma called Mira into the command center. A large screen showed updates from long-range sensors. The object they saw earlier, Kaon, had moved. Only a little, but for something that large, even a small shift meant something. He turned, the technician said. "We think he's adjusting position." Mira's voice was soft. "He's watching, listening." "Why now?" Dr. Emma asked. Mira looked down. "Because something else is on the way," Dr. Emma frowned. "You mean the black shape you saw in the memory?" "Yes." The room went silent. Later that day, Mira was invited back into the contact room. This time, the mirrors were dim, as if tired. The breathing sound was slow, like someone who had walked a long distance. "Kaon," Mira said gently. "You showed me something. A shadow, a destroyer." The wall shifted. Soft images appeared, faded like old dreams. She saw a planet full of light, with floating cities and tall, shining people. They touched each other by placing hands over each other's hearts. Mira felt warmth just from watching. Then the light dimmed. The shadow came. It didn't attack with weapons. It simply passed through, like wind through fire. And the people forgot. One by one, they dropped to their knees, confused, empty, silent. The cities sank. The sky cracked. Kaon had been there. He had tried to help. He had failed. The mirror showed Kaon's escape. He left the dying world, carrying memories, trying to keep the stories alive. But the shadow followed. Every time Kaon stopped to share, the people feared him. Some ran. Others attacked. So he stopped. He wandered alone for ages, waiting. Until now Mira's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered. The breathing grew louder, stronger. The wall glowed again, and she heard him, not a word, not a sound, but a deep, warm feeling. "You are not like them." Mira placed her hand on the mirror. "I want to remember. I want to help." The air around her changed. The room felt full, like someone had entered without stepping in. Then Kaon shared more. This time, she saw Kaon's origin. He was not made in a factory or grown like a plant. He had been built with memory. His creators, soft, glowing beings called the Alari, made him to carry stories. Each breath he took was a life remembered. Each sound, a voice saved. He was a living archive. A ship that breathed to remember those who could no longer speak. They had sent him into space when the shadow first appeared. Not to fight, but to survive. To remember them if they didn't. And they hadn't. They were gone. Only Kaon remained. Mira stayed in the contact room for hours. She sat on the floor, eyes closed, letting Kaon's memories flow through her. She saw stories of kindness, of great loss, of joy, of fear. She felt like she was reading a library written with light and breath, and at the center of it all was touch. The Alari believed in contact, not just of skin, but of soul. When they placed their hands on another's chest, they shared thoughts, feelings, memories. It was how they passed stories, how they lived beyond time. Kaon had been waiting to complete one last touch, one that never happened. She woke in the room, not knowing when she had fallen asleep. A soft hum came through the walls, like a lullaby. She stood and whispered, "I see you, Kaon. I hear your breath." The mirror brightened. And again, she saw her reflection, not herself, but the glowing version. The one Kaon imagined. You carry memory now, Kaon whispered. Myra nodded. You gave it to me. I won't let it fade. Then she felt it. Warmth on her hand. Not from the wall. Not from the room, but from him. She held her breath. There was no hand. No visible touch, just a feeling. Like someone's breath had passed over her skin. It was gentle. It was real. Later, Mira reported everything to the command team. Some didn't believe her. Others simply didn't understand. But Dr. Emma watched her closely. He gave you something. Didn't he? Myra nodded. Not a weapon, not technology. A memory. What kind? The kind that can't be erased. A truth. Dr. Emma sat back in her chair. What does he want now? Mira's voice was calm. To finish what he started, before the shadow comes again. That night, Earth's deep space sensors picked up something new. Not Kaon. Something darker. Colder. It wasn't moving fast, but it was moving with purpose. It was not breathing. It didn't send signals. It didn't want contact. The scientists called it the Eclipse, a name Kaon had whispered once. In a breath Mira could barely understand. The destroyer of memory. The one who ends all stories. The stars looked the same, but Earth was no longer calm. The deep space scanners had confirmed it. Something large, cold, and silent was entering the edge of the solar system. Not a comet. Not a ship. It didn't give off any heat. It didn't make a sound. It didn't breathe, but it was coming. And it had a name now. Eclipse. Inside the Solar Diplomatic Corps, Mira stood before the main council. Around her were leaders from different countries, top scientists, and a few quiet military officers. Tension filled the room like fog. She had just finished telling them what Kaon had shown her. The shadow, the fall of the Alari, and the warning that Eclipse would return. He doesn't want to destroy planets, Mira said. He wants to erase them, their stories, their memories. Why? Asked one general, crossing his arms. Mira shook her head. Kaon doesn't know. He only knows what he's seen. Dr. Emma leaned forward. Then we need to act. We can't. Just wait. The room fell silent again. Outside the station, Kaon hovered near Saturn like a silent guardian. His spiral form glowed slightly now, pulsing with every signal he sent to Mira. He hadn't spoken again through breath or image, but Mira could feel him still. He was preparing himself, but not for battle, for sacrifice. Later, Mira visited the contact room again. The mirrors were dimmer now, not out of power, but out of energy. Kaon was growing weak. She placed her hand on the wall and whispered, I'm still here. A soft breath came through the room. It remembers me. She frowned. Eclipse? It comes for what I hold. You mean the memories? Yes. It does not breathe. It does not feel. It fears what lives forever. Mira stepped back slowly. You can't fight it alone. I am not alone. She felt warmth in her chest, not from Kaon, but from herself. He had given her something more than just memory. A piece of his light. The next morning, Earth's defense networks began to prepare. Satellites were repositioned. Old space weapons, never before used, were charged and ready. They didn't know what the Eclipse was, but they were not going to face it empty-handed. But Myra warned them. No weapon will work on it, she said. It doesn't attack with force. It attacks the mind, the heart, the stories inside people. A scientist asked, then how do we defend against that? Mira looked down. By remembering. That evening, Kaon sent one last message. Through the signal chamber, across every screen on the station, a simple phrase appeared. I will go first. The room went still. Kaon had decided he would face Eclipse alone. Myra rushed to the command room. No, he doesn't have to do this. Dr. Emma put a hand on her shoulder. He's already leaving. On the large screen, Kaon began to move. His spiral form turned slowly, facing the edge of the system. His glow faded to a soft blue. And then, with one long pulse, he began drifting outward toward the dark. Mira sat alone in her quarters, feeling helpless. But then, an idea came. She rushed to the contact room one last time. "Kaon," she said, "you don't have to finish this alone. Let me help. Let me come with you." The walls glowed softly. "You cannot fly with me. Then take part of me." A pause. Then. A pulse. "You carry the breath." She nodded. "You said I'm the last. Then let my voice be heard when yours fades." The mirror flashed one more time, and Mira felt something inside her shift like a door opening. Kaon had made her the keeper of his final story. News spread across the planet. Kaon, the living memory ship, was going to meet the Eclipse. Not with weapons, not with force, but with everything he had gathered, his memories, his songs, and the breath of lost worlds. People didn't understand. Some were afraid. Others prayed. But Mira knew. This was not just a battle. It was a test. To see if memory could survive the silence. As Kaon passed Neptune, the sky above Earth shimmered. For a moment, every person who had seen the signal heard something, a single breath, warm, slow, familiar. Kaon had sent one final message through. Mira's connection. "Do not forget me." Far beyond the planets, in a part of space where no sun could shine, Kaon finally saw the ECLIPT. It was bigger than anything he had held in memory. A shape without shape. A form that swallowed light. It did not speak. It did not pause. It reached forward like a hand of darkness. Kaon did not run. He opened himself. He let all the memories rise. The laughter of children on distant planets. First time a star was named. The final song of the Alari. And Mira's voice, soft and steady. "I remember you." Back on Earth, every screen blinked once, then went black. No signal. No breath. Kaon was gone. In the silence that followed, many thought it was the end. But Mira, she felt something else. Inside her chest, a soft warmth still lived. A memory not hers. A story not from Earth. A breath still rising and falling. She closed her eyes and whispered, "You are not forgotten." And somewhere in the stars, the Eclipse paused. It had been 3 days since Kaon disappeared. No signal. No pulse. No breath. The skies were quiet. Many believed he had been destroyed. That the Eclipse had erased him like it had done to so many others. But Mira didn't believe that. Not fully. She could still feel something inside her. A warmth. A breath that did not belong to her, and yet felt like home. Mira stood in the signal chamber once again. She stared at the screen that once showed Kaon's breathing wave. Now it was flat. Number. Rhythm. No light. Taren walked in, holding a tablet. "No change," he said softly. "I know," Mira answered, still looking at the screen. Taren hesitated. "I don't want to sound foolish, but I think he's not gone. I can't explain it. I just feel it." Mira turned to him. "You're not foolish. I feel it too." Dr. Emma entered with 2 guards behind her. She looked tired but focused. "We've been watching the Eclipse," she said. "It's no longer moving forward. It has paused." Everyone in the room went quiet. "That's never happened before," Tarin said. Dr. Emma nodded. "It stopped the moment Kaon vanished. And it hasn't moved since." "What does it mean?" Mira asked. "We don't know, but we think Kaon did something. Something that made the Eclipse hesitate." Mira felt a rush of hope. Then maybe he's still out there. Later that evening, Mira sat alone in the contact room. The mirrors were dark. The breathing was gone. But she closed her eyes and focused. She placed her hand on the mirror. "I'm still here," she whispered. For a moment, nothing happened. Then softly her chest rose and fell. But it didn't feel like her own breath. It was slower, deeper. Kaon's breath. She gasped and opened her eyes. The mirrors glowed faintly, like a candle in the dark. Kaon wasn't gone. He was reaching back. Dr. Ima listened carefully as Mira told her what happened. "You're the link," the doctor said. "If Kaon passed something to you, maybe we can reach him again through you. But how?" Dr. Emma thought for a moment. "We have neural interface tech. It's been tested on deep sleep astronauts. It allows a person to connect their thoughts with machines or memories." "You want me to connect with Kaon's memories?" Mira asked. "Yes, if they're still alive inside you." Mira didn't hesitate. "I'll do it." The process was delicate. Mira was placed in a quiet medical room with soft lights and calm music. A small device was attached to her temple. "It didn't hurt, just a cool touch. You may feel things that aren't yours," the nurse said kindly. "Old memories, lost thoughts. Don't fight them. Just follow." Mira closed her eyes. The machine hummed, and her mind opened. At first, there was darkness. Then, a light appeared, soft blue and warm. She walked toward it, but her feet didn't touch the ground. She was floating inside Kaon. Not his body, but his memory. She saw stars blink around her. Galaxies spin. 100,000 stories rushed past her like waves. She saw the Ilari again. She heard their songs, and then she heard Kaon's voice. "You came back." "I never left," she replied. Kaon showed her what happened. When he reached the eclipse, he didn't fight. He opened himself. He gave his memories, his breath, his truth. And for the first time in its existence, the eclipse paused. It had never been given anything like that. No one had ever shared before, only ran, hid, or attacked. But Kaon didn't run. He offered connection. And now the eclipse was confused. "It doesn't understand what I gave," Kaon told Mira inside the memory space. Mira stood with him in the glowing chamber of his thoughts. "Then let me help explain. You carry the breath," Kaon said. "You are the last voice. Then let it be heard." Back on Earth, Mira's body stayed calm in the medical room. But inside her mind, she reached farther than any human ever had. Kaon guided her to the edge of the memory field. There, she saw the eclipse again. A shape so vast it looked like space itself. It had no face, no eyes, but it saw her. She didn't speak with words. She felt instead. She sent memories of Earth, of children laughing, of old hands holding new ones, of fire and family, of water and music. She shared stories of pain, 2 wars, loss, fear, but always with hope at the end. And at the center of all these memories was Kaon. His breath, his silence, his touch, the moment before a hand reaches another. The story never finished. The eclipse didn't speak, but Mira felt a shift, a stillness, then a whisper, not a voice, but a question. "Why do you remember?" She answered without words, "Because that is how we stay alive." Back in the station, Myra's eyes opened. She sat up slowly. The room was silent. The nurse rushed to her, then paused. Mira was glowing, just a little, just enough to remind them of Kaon. Taren entered the room. "Mira?" She smiled. "He's still here, and so am I." Far beyond the planets, the eclipse moved once more, but not forward. It turned and began to leave, not destroyed, not defeated, but changed. Because for the first time, it had been touched. Not by a weapon, but by memory. The eclipse had turned away, across the galaxy, from deep space stations to quiet farms. The news spread fast. The shadow had left. No weapon was fired. No battle was fought. And yet, Earth had survived. The people didn't understand how. They only knew it had something to do with Kaon, the strange object near Saturn, and Mira Dallin, the woman who listened when no one else could. Mira stood near the window of the Solar Diplomatic Corps. She looked out into the stars. They twinkled softly, like they always did. But now they felt different. They felt alive. She placed a hand on the glass. just like she had on the mirror wall so many times. "I know you're still there," she whispered. Keon hadn't spoken. Again, not through light, not through signal, not even in dreams, but Mira still felt him. She could feel his breath inside her, soft, calm, constant. A week later, Mira returned to the signal chamber. Taran walked beside her. "They want to name a new outpost after Keon," he said, "near the edge of Saturn's rings." Mira smiled gently. He would like that, quiet and close to the stars. She sat down at her usual chair. The screen was still blank, but she placed her hand near it anyway. Then she said, "Play memory file K0. Taran raised an eyebrow. "The one you recorded before the eclipse came?" "Yes," the audio played. It was Myra's voice. "This is Myra Dallin. If you are hearing this, then he's still breathing. Keon is not a ship. He is not metal. He is not code. He is a soul built from memory. And he was never here to hurt us, only to finish a connection that started long before we were born. He came to remember. And I was the hand he never touched." After the recording ended, Taran said quietly, "Do you think he knew you would come?" Mira looked down. "No, I think he hoped. For a very long time." She took a breath, slow and deep. His breath in the months that followed, Mira helped create something new, a memory program. Its goal was simple: gather, protect, and share the stories of humanity. Not just the famous events or great victories, but the small, quiet moments too. A child's drawing, a grandmother's lullaby, a first snowfall, a final goodbye. Mira said, "If the eclipse ever returns, we won't fight with rockets. We'll show who we are through the memories we carry." People listened. For the first time in a long time, humans started telling stories again, not just to entertain, but to connect. Mira began teaching at a new center near Saturn. It was quiet there, just as she liked. She trained young communicators, people who wanted to listen to the stars, not just look at them. She taught them how to feel the silence, how to wait for a breath, how to touch without touching. One day, a young girl named Ellen asked her, "Did Keon ever really touch you?" Mira paused for a moment, then smiled softly. "No," she said. "His fingers never touched me, but his breath did." And that was enough. One night, long after everyone else had gone to sleep, Mira stood on the station balcony. The sky above was full of stars. Saturn's rings glowed below like soft silver ribbons. She closed her eyes and listened. At first, there was nothing. But then, the air shifted, just a little. A soft wind passed over her skin. Not cold, not warm. Just real. Her eyes opened. She whispered, "You're still here, aren't you?" The stars didn't answer, but in her heart, she felt it, a slow, steady breath. She walked to the small memory room. Inside, on a crystal shelf, was a glowing shard, a piece of Keon, a fragment of his memory core, gifted to her before his final moment. The shard pulsed faintly with light, not bright, not fading. Alive. Mira touched it gently and sat down beside it. Then she spoke, not to the room, not to herself, but to Keon. "I remember the first time I heard you," she said. "It was just a sound, like breathing. But I knew it was something more. I knew it was you." She took a deep breath. "I thought I was alone out there. But you were listening. You reached out, before anyone else did." A pause. "Your breath touched me, before your fingers ever could." She closed her eyes and rested beside the shard, as if sitting beside an old friend, somewhere far, far beyond the solar system. In a place with no name and no light, a small spiral shape floated gently through the dark. It didn't shine. It didn't call. It just breathed. And inside it, one voice remained, soft and human, a voice that carried hope across the stars.